let's talk about NVIDIA. So NVIDIA has been a stock of the year that everybody has been talking about. And it was 52-week low was $108. 52-week high was $502. But since it hit $500, it has dropped almost $50, around the 452 range. So, okay, is the NVIDIA hype over? Will it have a new bull run? Is it time to invest in NVIDIA? Is NVIDIA overpriced? Will it split? Will NVIDIA split? What's the deal with NVIDIA?
I hope it does split, but from what I'm hearing from a couple people that work inside of the industry, NVIDIA has another chip that is going to come out that could change the game. So I would say put NVIDIA back on your watch list. So if you missed this first run, we have to argue that their CEO probably is top 5 right now. If they come out with another chip that could change the game like this first one did, it could definitely send the stocks soaring higher. If it goes above 700, at some point they are going to have to split to make it affordable. But NVIDIA in this decade may be cementing themselves as one of the new power players for the next decade. Kind of like we had FANG in the last decade that was dominant. They're going to be one of the players that's most dominant in the space and in the market overall. So I would definitely begin to put it on your watch list. And at the Chicago show, I will give you a price to look to buy into NVIDIA if you missed it at the top of this year or last year. And if you made money off NVIDIA, please put yes in chat. But at the Chicago show, October 22nd, I'll give you a price of where to enter.
This is an interesting time. It's an interesting time for NVIDIA. I'm glad you brought up the price because there is news that OpenAI may be looking to use a different chip supplier outside of NVIDIA. So that is interesting. There is also some news. So I like when Ian says, from what I'm hearing, there's a company out there named Microsoft that is interested in creating their own chip, which is also an interesting proposition for NVIDIA. Do I love it long term? Absolutely. But when you have companies coming into a market, especially like a Microsoft, it does take time. And just because they're saying they do it, it doesn't mean that they'll have it next year. It might take 10 to 15 years for them to create the factories and to create the machinery needed to create these waffles that make the semiconductors. But the fact that they're coming into the space tells you that this is a space that's going to be here for the long term. NVIDIA is the leader now, like we said a couple of weeks ago. I think for the next 3 to 5 years, just because of the amount of time it takes to get a business like this up and running, or to get the machinery up and running to compete in this space, they'll be ahead over the next 10 to 15 years. There's going to be some challengers. The fact that Microsoft, and I think next month they're going to announce it, that they're coming to space to create their own chips. I think Apple follows suit. I think Amazon's they're already following suit. So that takes some of the market lead that they have. So it'll be interesting to watch. But what we're about to see is we're going to see the AI chip wars. That's what we're heading.
Absolutely.
AI chip wars is what's on the frontier for the next 5 to 10 years. So they're leading now, but definitely watch out for that Magnificent Seven. All of them are going to have their own version. Which is going to cut into that market lead that they have.
And I'll say too, if whatever tech company is not focused on making their own chips, they're going to get left behind. This is the equivalent of like a AI assembly line. Because in order for Microsoft and Apple to really be dominant in tech, they're going to need their own chips to be able to run the processes as fast as they need to. But this is why NVIDIA needs to counter with the superior chip. So, of course, if Meta comes out with one, which I believe they will, Apple, Amazon, Google, if NVIDIA remains in pole position with the best chip, they can remain a market leader. But if you have 5 or 6 competitors clawing at you every day, going back to what we were talking about last week, that's why you have to stay on your grind every week. I know people always give you pushback for when you say that, but if you are not ahead of the competition, at some point you're going to be a laggard and you may not be able to ever catch up. That's why I always bring up IBM. IBM was really big in the AI space in the 90s or early 2000s, and they lost it.
And what they need, this is the interesting part, right? The price point is what gives it the advantage now. But if these 5 competitors come in and they're making equivalent, not even a superior chip, but an equivalent chip or superior chip with a lower price point. We've seen Amazon do this plenty of times.
Yeah.
They come in, they see the competition, they make a similar product, they drop the price point. You can't compete because most people are going to pay for the thing that costs less, even if they have equivalent service, not superior, but even equivalent at a lower price point. That's going to cause damage. So definitely is the reason why you got to stay ahead of the game, and make sure that you're always being innovative.
And my final point, another thing that quantitative easing does is it makes everyone compete. When interest rates are low, you can get money for cheap. Everyone gets a little bit more comfortable. Quantitative easing goes away, interest rates are higher. Now you have to fight for less customers, less clients. Everyone has to innovate a lot faster to stay in the lead.